Behold, as the emperor strides forth, the heavens themselves seem to bow. In his wake, legends are born, and the very stones of Constantinople tremble with ancient power. His presence is a storm, an unstoppable force, carrying the weight of empires and the whispers of eternity. This is no mere entry. It is the rise of a titan, the dawn of an age, the moment when history itself bows to his will.
In the heart of the Byzantine Empire stood Constantinople, a city of unparalleled grandeur, where East met West. Founded by the Roman Emperor Constantine in 330 CE, this ancient city became the epicenter of politics, culture, and religion for over millennia. In the early 4th century, Emperor Constantine sought a strategic capital for his vast empire. He chose the ancient Greek city of Byzantium, perfectly positioned between Europe and Asia, at the crossroads of trade routes. He renamed it Constantinople, meaning City of Constantine. Constantinople wasn't just a capital. It was a fortress, a hub of commerce, a center for faith, and a symbol of the emperor's authority. Constantine and his successors fortified the city with massive walls that would stand for centuries. The Theodosian walls, as they came to be known, were an engineering marvel, double-layered, impenetrable, and instrumental in defending the city against countless invaders. As Constantinople grew in power, so too did its influence over Christianity. The Byzantine Empire became the center of Eastern Orthodoxy, developing its own traditions distinct from the Roman Catholic Church in the West. Tensions between Rome and Constantinople simmered for centuries, ultimately culminating in the Great Schism of 1054, which forever divided the Christian world into the Eastern Orthodox Church and the Roman Catholic Church. Constantinople was not just a city of faith, it was a beacon of wealth and culture. As the capital of the Byzantine Empire, it attracted merchants, scholars, and artisans from across the world. Its streets thrived with diverse peoples, its libraries housed knowledge from ancient civilizations, and its markets overflowed with goods from as far as China and India. But all empires, no matter how grand, must face their end. In 1453, Constantinople fell to the Ottoman Turks after more than 1,000 years of dominance. Sultan Mehmed II, known as the Conqueror, led a relentless siege that breached the once impregnable Theodosian walls. On 29 May 1453, Constantinople fell, marking the end of the Byzantine Empire and the dawn of a new era under Ottoman rule. The city was renamed Istanbul, but its legacy as the heart of Byzantium would never fade. Constantinople was more than a city, it was a symbol of resilience, faith, and the fusion of cultures. Today, its spirit lives on in the vibrant city of Istanbul, where the echoes of its grand past continue to shape the present. Constantinople, the jewel of the Byzantine Empire, stood 800 miles east of Rome, chosen by Emperor Constantine for its strategic and defensive advantages. But it was more than just a fortress. It was a city of immense wealth, culture, and power, a true crossroads between East and West. Constantinople was nearly impenetrable, encircled on 3 sides by the Bosporus Strait and the Sea of Marmara. To further secure the city, the Byzantines stretched a colossal chain across the harbor, deterring naval attacks. Along the land, miles of fortified walls, watchtowers, and gates stood as an impenetrable defense. Beyond its formidable defenses, Constantinople was the ultimate hub for trade between Europe and Asia. Positioned at the crossroads of sea and land routes, the city's markets overflowed with luxury goods, silks from China, furs from the north, ivory from Africa, and perfumes from the east. For over 700 years, Constantinople reigned as the wealthiest city in the Mediterranean. As one French soldier visiting in 1204 marveled, one could not believe there was so rich a city in all the world. At its height, Constantinople was home to nearly 1 million inhabitants. While the city's language and culture were predominantly Greek, it was a cosmopolitan metropolis, welcoming traders, scholars, and visitors from across the known world. Its harbor was constantly crowded with ships, and its streets were alive with the activity of commerce and daily life, a stark contrast to the poverty and hardship faced by much of medieval Europe. Life in Constantinople was notably more advanced than in Western Europe. The city boasted an intricate sewer system, hospitals, orphanages, and homes for the elderly. Yet, despite these luxuries, many of its citizens lived in poverty. To support the unemployed, the emperor provided bread in exchange for public service, ensuring the city's streets and gardens were well maintained. One of the most thrilling aspects of life in Constantinople was the chariot races at the Hippodrome. The races were fiercely contested between two major factions, the Blues and the Greens. But their rivalry wasn't confined to the track. It spilled into the streets, sparking intense clashes between the teams and their supporters. In 532, the rivalry between the Blues and the Greens reached a boiling point. United in anger against the emperor, the two factions set aside their differences and ignited the Nika Revolt, a rebellion that engulfed Constantinople in flames and resulted in the widespread destruction of the city. Constantinople was more than just a city. It was the beating heart of an empire, a center of culture, commerce, and innovation. Its influence shaped the world for over 1,000 years, and even today, the legacy of this remarkable city echoes through the streets of Istanbul. Medieval Europe and the Byzantine Empire were once united under the banner of Christianity, but over the centuries, deep-rooted cultural, political, and religious differences would drive them apart. What began as a single Roman empire evolved into two distinct worlds, each with its own language, values, and vision for the Christian faith. From the earliest days of the Roman emperors, the eastern and western regions of the empire were vastly different. In the east, cities thrived, trade networks expanded, and wealth flowed. Meanwhile, the west was predominantly rural, its economy driven by agriculture, and far less affluent than its eastern counterpart. With the fall of Rome in 476, these differences became even more pronounced. Byzantine culture, deeply influenced by its Greek heritage, contrasted sharply with the West, shaped by Frankish and Germanic traditions. In Constantinople, Greek was the language of everyday life, while in the West, Latin remained the language of scholars and the church. While cultural differences deepened, the most significant source of tension arose from the growing conflict between the churches of the East and West. As Western Europe stabilized after the fall of Rome, the popes in Rome claimed supreme religious authority over all Christians. Yet in the Byzantine Empire, Eastern emperors and patriarchs refused to recognize such power. In 1054, the growing tensions between East and West reached a breaking point. Patriarch Cerularius, determined to reassert Byzantine control over the Church, ordered the closure of all churches in Constantinople that practiced Western rites. This infuriated Pope Leo IX, who dispatched Cardinal Humbert to confront the Patriarch in Constantinople. In front of a stunned congregation, Cardinal Humbert placed a papal bull of excommunication on the altar of Hagia Sophia. The message was clear: Rome no longer recognized the authority of the Byzantine Church. Patriarch Cerularius retaliated by excommunicating Cardinal Humbert, a symbolic act, as the Patriarch lacked the authority to do so. Yet, the gesture made it clear, the schism between East and West was now final. Despite efforts at reconciliation in the centuries that followed, the split between the Eastern Orthodox Church and the Roman Catholic Church became permanent. The Great Schism of 1054 marked the end of nearly 1,000 years of Christian unity and set the course for two distinct branches of Christianity, each with its own traditions, leaders, and vision for the faith. The conflict between East and West was more than a religious dispute. It was the culmination of centuries of cultural and political divergence. Today, the Eastern Orthodox Church and the Roman Catholic Church stand as reminders of a once united Christendom, now separated by history, tradition, and faith. Constantinople, the jewel of the Byzantine Empire, stood protected by its legendary walls for centuries. A city on the crossroads of Europe and Asia, its fortifications were the envy of the ancient world. But throughout its history, these mighty walls would face relentless sieges, from Avars and Persians to the advancing armies of Islam. Today, we take you through two of the most harrowing tests of Constantinople's defenses. In AD 626, Constantinople faced its first true test. The Avars, in alliance with the Persians, launched one of the most severe assaults the city had ever endured. The Avars arrived with the most advanced siege technology of the time, traction trebuchets and siege towers, but the city was well prepared. 31st July, the Avars launched a full-scale attack on the Theodosian walls. The Chronicon firstly recounts the scene. Siege engines covered in heights advanced toward the walls, as the Byzantines defended with all their might. The Persians joined the attack but were thwarted by the Byzantine navy, which controlled the Bosphorus and kept the enemy forces at bay. The turning point came not at the walls, but on the waters of the Golden Horn. A failed landing by the invaders was intercepted, leading to the eventual withdrawal of the Avars. By the night of 7th August, the Avars, realizing their efforts were futile, set their siege engines ablaze and retreated. The walls of Constantinople had survived their first significant test. In AD 674, Constantinople faced a new and formidable threat: the advancing Arab armies of the Umayyad Caliphate. This marked the first major Islamic assault on the city. For 4 years, the Arabs blockaded the city, attempting to breach the walls and pillaging the surrounding lands. Despite repeated attacks on the formidable Theodosian walls, the Arabs were unable to break through. However, it was the introduction of a new and devastating weapon that would turn the tide of the siege: Greek fire. Greek fire, a deadly substance that could ignite on water, became a decisive weapon. The Arab forces, despite their might, could not withstand the fury of this infernal weapon. After years of attacks, the Arab siege faltered, and Constantinople remained unconquered. In AD 714, the Muslim armies returned, led by the formidable commander Maslama. With 1,000 ships and countless squadrons, the Arabs sought once again to conquer Constantinople. Emperor Leo III stood ready, observing the advancing forces from the walls of the city. Both sides engaged in fierce combat, with the Byzantines launching their own counterattacks. Mangonels and onagers from the city's walls hurled stones at the invading fleet, weakening the Arab resolve. Then, a bold maneuver by the Byzantine navy shifted the battle. Seizing a moment of hesitation by the Arab forces, the Byzantines captured one of their ships, leading to a devastating blow to morale. The sight of their captured comrades demoralized the attackers, weakening their resolve and forcing them to reconsider their siege. For centuries, the walls of Constantinople stood as the city's greatest defense, an unbreakable barrier to some of the most powerful armies in history. From the Avars and Persians to the Arab invaders, these walls symbolized the resilience and strength of the Byzantine Empire. Though the city would eventually fall in 1453, the legacy of these walls and the sieges they survived endures. Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire, stood as an impregnable fortress for centuries. The city's legendary walls had withstood countless sieges, defending the empire from all corners. But in the 15th century, a rising force in the east, the Ottomans, would launch a series of sieges that would ultimately lead to the fall of this once great city. Today, we examine three pivotal Ottoman sieges: 1396, 1422, and the final assault in 1453, which marked the end of an empire and the dawn of Ottoman rule. The first of these assaults came in 1396, led by the known as Bayezid II. Although unsuccessful, it it marked the beginning of Ottoman ambitions to claim Constantinople. Though the walls held firm, the siege sent a clear message to the Byzantines: the Ottomans would return, stronger and more determined. In 1422, Constantinople faced another threat. This time, it was Sultan Murad II who brought his armies to the city's gates. Described vividly by the chronicler John Cananus, this siege tested the resilience of Constantinople's defenses. Murad's forces were vast, and the pressure on the city was immense. But once again, the Theodosian walls proved too strong. The Byzantine defenders repelled the assault, forcing the Ottomans to retreat. 31 years later, in 1453, the Ottomans returned. This time, they were led by Sultan Mehmed II, the man who would go down in history as Mehmed the Conqueror. With meticulous planning and a formidable army, Mehmed sought to do what his predecessors could not: take Constantinople. Mehmed's strategy was meticulous. He captured all remaining Byzantine territories and, in 1452, completed the fortress of Rumeli Hisar, securing control over the Bosphorus and cutting off any hope of relief arriving by sea. In March 1453, the Ottoman fleet assembled off Gallipoli, while the Turkish army massed in Thrace. The sight of the Ottoman navy passing the sea walls, alongside the advancing army, struck fear into the hearts of Constantinople's inhabitants. In late April, Mehmed executed a daring maneuver. In a remarkable feat of engineering, he had 80 Turkish ships hauled overland and relaunched in the Golden Horn, bypassing the city's harbor defenses. This bold move allowed the Ottomans to launch seaborne attacks on Constantinople's vulnerable northern defenses. By late May, the siege had reached its final stage. Despite a valiant defense by Emperor Constantine XI and the Venetian commander John Giustiniani, the low-lying section of the walls across the Lycus Valley was breached on the morning of 29th May. The Janissaries, Mehmed's elite troops, launched a final charge. Despite the courageous defense, the outer walls fell, and soon after, the inner walls were breached. Emperor Constantine XI, refusing to surrender, led a final charge into the invaders, fighting bravely to the end. But by midday, the city's defenses had crumbled, and the great city of Constantinople had fallen. After centuries of defiance, the mighty walls of Constantinople had finally been overcome. The fall of the city marked the end of the Byzantine Empire and the beginning of Ottoman rule, a turning point in world history. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 was not just the end of an empire, but the dawn of a new era. Mehmed II transformed the city into the heart of the Ottoman Empire, where East met West, and where history, culture, and power converged. In 1453, the city of Constantinople, known as the gateway between East and West, fell to the armies of the Ottoman Empire. This event did more than mark the end of the Byzantine Empire, it reshaped the course of world history. The conquest of Constantinople by Sultan Mehmed II ushered in a new chapter, one of cultural, economic, and political transformation. For centuries, Constantinople had been a coveted prize for empires. Its strategic position between Europe and Asia, its control over the key trade routes, and its rich cultural heritage made it one of the most desirable cities in the world. The city's wealth and influence were unmatched, standing as a testament to the Byzantine Empire's resilience and prosperity. But in 1453, after centuries of defiance, Constantinople would face its final siege. At just 21 years old, Sultan Mehmed II, also known as Mehmed the Conqueror, embarked on an ambitious mission to capture the great city. His vision was clear: to turn Constantinople into the heart of a new empire. Despite a valiant defense by Emperor Constantine XI and his forces, the formidable Theodosian walls, which had stood for over 1,000 years, could no longer withstand the might of Mehmed's army. On 29 May 1453, the city finally fell. The fall of Constantinople was not just the end of the Byzantine Empire, but the beginning of a new era. Mehmed II transformed the city, renaming it Istanbul and making it the capital of the Ottoman Empire. The city became a thriving cultural and economic center, bridging the gap between East and West. Under Ottoman rule, Istanbul blossomed into a hub of art, science, and trade, attracting scholars, merchants, and architects from across the world. Today, Istanbul stands as a testament to the enduring legacy of Constantinople and the empires that shaped it. The fall of Constantinople was not just an end, but the beginning of a long and complex chapter in world history, a chapter that would shape the geopolitical landscape of both Europe and the Middle East for centuries to come. The fall of Constantinople reshaped the world in ways that still resonate today. It accelerated the age of exploration as European powers sought new routes to Asia. It also marked the rise of the Ottoman Empire as a dominant global force, influencing politics, culture, and religion across continents. The story of Constantinople is not just about the past, it is about the ongoing dialogue between East and West, tradition and modernity, power and culture. Istanbul, as it is known today, remains a crossroads of civilizations, a living symbol of the complex interplay of religion, politics, and identity. Constantinople may have fallen in 1453, but its legacy lives on, an eternal reminder of the rise and fall of great cities and the profound impact they can have on the course of human history.